Feliz Viernes! It is Friday and I'm Rory Foster and I'm glad to be here with you today for our Video Viernes Spanish lesson. Whew, today's been a busy day. You know, I had like an hour and a half in between the kid drop off this morning and Anna Sophia, my number two, my lovely assistant last week. She had her science project today, her science fair. And then, got done with that at around 11, and then it's back to back today, but I am glad to be here with you for our Video Viernes lesson. Today we're looking at verbs mentioned in the form that I sent out to everyone, and my request to say, hey, send me your ideas so that I know what's useful to you in teaching on Fridays. She said, Rory, for us beginners, it would be great to have just kind of like a breakdown of a handful of super useful verb tenses. When you're using language in a very specific context like health, you don't have to study verb tenses in kind of a traditional format. You can go for highest yield, and that's fine. We're all adults. You've got very capable brains, and so just because maybe in some or more complex verb tense until later on, it's fine for you to be managing a handful of useful tenses that are going to give you quick and high yield returns while you're working with patients. So that's what we're looking at today, but for you beginners, we're going to start with the very basics. Tipos de verbos, AR, ER, IR. This is what the verb ends in, and that's how we classify verbs in Spanish. So we classify them by what they end in. A verb like examinar is an AR verb clearly because it ends in AR. A verb like comer, the verb to eat, is ER. Sufrir is an IR verb, no problem, because it ends in IR. This is important because the endings or the conjugations of these verbs will relate to the class of or kind of verb that it is. So AR verbs will have a particular pattern for how, and the same goes for ERs and IRs. So, but before we get to conjugations, one of the things that I see people struggle with a lot, especially at the beginning levels, is sorting out who the different subjects are in Spanish, because the subjects actually dictate the conjugation. So you've got two things that dictate conjugation. Let's take a look and get these subjects straight. And this is how we're going to line them out throughout the lesson today. So we've got yo, who is I, yo, okay? We've got tu, who's you. All right, wow, that was a major video fail on a Facebook live feed. So sorry. I have got all of my papers put back up, and but unfortunately they're all written out. I'm not going to redo it all, but I'll talk you through each of these. Okay, where were we? ARs, ERs, IRs, three different kinds of verbs, and the subjects that guide how these verbs change in their different tenses. So, yo is I, tu is you, a you for children, not adults at all. So anytime, not in their teens. So before their teens, you can use tu. You probably have some bad habits if you've learned Spanish in the past, but you're going to want to steer away from tu and steer toward usted to have professional tone with your Spanish. All right, so él and ella, he and she, nosotros, we. There's a plural tu form used in Spain, vosotros, but it's not very common here in the United States, in the Americas in general, and especially not in the United States. So we'll just limit brain damage as much as possible, and we won't even touch it. Ellos, they. Ellas, they, which is a female, they, exclusive, just women. Ellos could be a combined group, men and women. And then ustedes is the plural you, y'all, you guys. All right, perfecto. Let's jump right into the 5 most common high frequency verb tenses for you in the clinical setting. Okay. Number 1, starting off with the present tense. Present tense is the things you do habitually. I go, I eat, I drink, or the things that are going on at any one time. He is having pain or whatever is actually present tense, even though you might think it's a more complicated tense. Okay, so we've got our examinar, AR verbs. These end in o, as, a, yo, tú, él, ella, usted, amos for nosotros, and an for ellos, ellas, and ustedes. And so with a verb like examinar, we've got yo examino, tú examinas, él examina, nosotros examinamos, ellos examinan. Now, we've got ER verbs like comer. We're always going to drop the ending of the verb, the ER part or the AR part or the IR. We always drop it. We're left with the stem, and then we add the conjugated endings. So we've got como, comes, come, comemos, and comen. Here's how ER verbs change. You see it's a little different from ARs. ARs have an A in the conjugation. ERs have an E in the conjugation. And then IRs, very similar to ERs. O, es, a, emos now, one difference, and then N. All right. So, yes, there are irregulars. No, we're not going to talk about them now. In the blog post, I'll have a download for you where you can get the irregulars of the present tense. All right. Now we're on to a tense that you might not in traditional classes study right now at this pace or as a beginner, or you might push this off until a little later in your studies, but you're fine managing it. You're a smart person. So with the present perfect, this is the have done something tense. So great for like history of the problem. What, how long have you had this pain, etc. Have you eaten today? And it's this compound tense. In order to form it, we have a form of the verb haber. This is our helping verb. And then we have this, our verb that we're actually talking about with a very basic ending. So AR verbs are going to get an auto ending, and ERs and IRs are going to get an edo ending. So AR gets ado, and ER gets edo. And IR. So here's how it works. The verb that actually changes in this tense is the helping verb. So yo he examinado. I have examined. Tú has examinado. You have examined for kids. Ella ha examinado. She has examined. Nosotros hemos examinado. Ellos han examinado. All right, so that's how you form the AR verbs. These, as, a, hemos, an, actually remain the same over here for ERs and IRs. The only thing that changes is that the verb now gets edo on the end. So we have as, a, hemos, an, but now if it's comer, the verb to eat, he comido, has comido, ha comido, hemos comido, han comido. So in a statement, this sounds like I have done something. In a question, it's have you done something? Very useful tense. All right, plugging right along. Okay, now we have commands. This is a little tricky, and it took me a while to work through this page the first time through. So I hope I don't confuse you. Follow me here. So commands are broken up by usted, ustedes, and then tú. All right, the usted and ustedes form, this is the easier side. Tú is the harder side. So let's start here. Focus here. Usted is giving a command to any patient in their teens and up, right? We have positive commands, like do this, and then we have negative commands. Don't do that, okay? In order to get there, you probably have seen, if you haven't, take a look through this feed and at some of the other videos, and you'll see when I took a whole video viernes and focused just on the command tense. You'll get more details there, but in quick summary, in order to form the usted command, you first go to the yo, examino, you then drop the o, step number 2, examin, and then you add the opposite ending, examine. And so AR verbs get an E, and then ER and IR verbs get an A. And so here's the usted command. Examinar, if I say examine, examine. That's for usted. If I give it to a group of people, examinen, you add an N on it. If I give a negative, well, before we go to the negatives, let's go ahead and do comer. We go to the O, drop the O, add the opposite ending. So comer actually ends up being coma. So coma, eat. Or coman. Come on, guys, eat. Eat, you guys. Coman. Now the negative, all it does is require a no. And you use the same form of the verb. No examine, no examinen, no coma, no coman. All right, pretty straightforward. Go to the O, drop the O, add the opposite ending. The yo of the present tense. The to forms are more complicated. The to form in the affirmative uses the el, ella, usted form of present tense. And so it's just examina and come. Examine, eat. But then the negative actually brings in some usted commands. And so we've got all these lines and dashes and dots. So we're going to use the usted command plus an S. And so no examine was the usted command, but now we add an S to it. No examines. No coma, but then we add an S to it. No comas. All right. So technically, if you're an advanced Spanish speaker, these are subjunctive forms. These are subjunctive verb conjugations. If you're not an advanced Spanish speaker, go to the O, drop the O, add the opposite ending, and then use the third person singular of the present tense, and then use the usted command, go to the O, drop the O, add the opposite ending, and then add an S as well, okay? Those are commands in Espanol. Yes, there are irregulars. Yes, there are some other variations with different object pronouns, reflexive pronouns, and things like that. You can find more information on the post about the imperative command tense. All right, preterite. This is a simple past tense. It's one of the first past tenses you'll learn, and we have two past tenses in Spanish. This one is the simple past tense. I ate, I examined the patient, right? I ate crackers and cheese, I examined the patient. Well, in between, I washed my hands. Okay, bien. So, simple past tense, ARs, like examinar, conjugate this way. Examiné, examinaste, examinó, examinamos, examinaron. Comer, comí, comiste, comió, comimos, comieron. Yes, there are a lot of irregulars, and those will be covered in a download on the blog post that I put up for you. Spicy is when you use all of the different instances in which you use the preterite tense. You can refer back to the other past tense video lesson about when to use the preterite past tense. Imperfect is that other past tense, which is no longer I ate or I examined. It's now I was eating or I used to eat, I was examining or I used to examine. Okay? So in order to communicate that in the past, we've got an aba ending. So trabajar, this is up here because when we speak Spanish to my kids at home, and one time early on, and then from there on for like at least a year, my kids' favorite word in Spanish was trabajaba. And the first time they heard it was like when one of my kids was like, Dad, where were you? What were you doing? He said, oh, yo trabajaba in Denver y apenas vine. And they're like, trabajaba, they just thought it was so funny the way it sounded, I guess. Anyways, we're using trabajar now, the verb to work, not examinar. Yo trabajaba, tú trabajabas, ella trabajaba, nosotros trabajábamos, ellos trabajaban. Great. So ARs get a aba. ERs and IRs get a ia. Yo comía, tú comías, ella comía, Nosotros comíamos, ellos comían. All right, and do it is our acronym here. Our acronym for figuring out when we use this tense versus the preterite tense. All right, well, thanks for your patience with me as we did actually 2 videos of this today, and I hope you have a wonderful Friday. And if you know any of the folks that have been on immersion with us this winter, give them a big high five or a pat on the back or a hug when they come home. We've got our 4-week folks coming home today and tomorrow. Their program's finished up. The folks that started with me in Nicaragua 2 weeks ago, and then folks that are doing the Pura Vida program, who are just Costa Rica, then they are either finishing up today if they're on 4 weeks, or on 2 weeks, excuse me, or they're continuing on if they're 3 or 4 or 5 weeks in Costa Rica. So anyway, big day for us at Common Ground. A program is finishing in Costa Rica. They started out in Nicaragua, went to Costa Rica, finishing up today. People are ready to go home, see their families, but they have just learned a ton of Spanish. Thanks again for bearing with me today with my tech problems. Hope you're doing well and have a fantastic weekend. Adios! Hey, thank you for joining me today on this Video Viernes lesson. I wanted to invite you to join our community if you're not a member of the Facebook group already, that I deliver these live lessons in on most every Friday. And also point you to the website where you can find a bunch more information about medical Spanish, whether that be courses or free materials for you, or finding a private tutor to work with you online or face-to-face. And also let you know about some amazing Spanish immersion programs, either you as a medical person or your significant other as working in some other industry, or your family. If you want to improve your Spanish and you have time and budget to go do some travel, our programs are pretty amazing. I think it'd be fun to work with you. And finally, if you have some document work at your clinic or at your hospital or within your setting that needs to be professionally translated, shoot me a message, upload your document to us, and we can get you a quick quote and help you out with your Spanish language documents as well. Have a great day.